Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Okay, welcome to session 6. We're gonna do a bit of physics review, collision review. Also, like if you haven't already implemented that 4-directional collision, this session, end of this session, well, we're gonna have time to start your game, and you probably will have collision, so that will be something good to implement, like basically collision from all 4 directions. Like, so you have a block, if you collide from it, bottom, top, left, right, you want to stop your player from moving. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. I probably should have told you guys earlier. But yeah, I think for the well, especially for the game, but also even for the exercises, I'll probably do this next time. But definitely good to reuse your code. I probably would have told you guys to do that for the exercises as well. If you didn't, that's okay. You learned more by like setting up the starting code several times. Um, But if you didn't finish the end of session exercises, then you can use these files here. Basically, it's all the end of session exercises. Right, okay. Yeah, so you have your speed. Speed's how fast the object's moving. You have your acceleration, which is how much your speed is increasing, right? Jumping is when usually you have a constant negative, or I guess it would be a positive number, but like downward acceleration, which simulates gravity, and then you set to jump, you set the velocity to some negative number, which sends you moving up initially, but as gravity takes over, you start falling back down again. Um, Collisions, basically how you detect them is literally just if two rectangles they're almost always rectangles. If two rectangles are overlapping, like the rectangles for sprite, then the collision's true. You decide what you want to happen, right? um, yeah, there's actually some collision implementations that don't use like pygame.sprite.collide rect. Most of them, okay, most of them do, and I think the ones that I pasted, uh, they're in session 5. I'll paste the links later, but those ones also use pygame.sprite.collide rect. But really, it's just a bunch of, if you didn't use that, it would be a bunch of if statements to check like whether two rectangles are overlapping. But what this function lacks is it doesn't actually tell you like which direction, say, a player hits a block from. So you still have to add that. And that brings us to our first quick question. Slides are in the chat. And session 5, wait, no, sorry. And the collision stuff is, I'm going to say like at the end of this session, we'll have some time to start our game. And anyways, I'll let y'all answer the quick question first. But this everyone answered? Okay, cool. Okay. Oops. Yes. Let me this. There we go. Okay. Yes, so assuming that your player is actually falling to begin with, you set the y speed to 0. And the platform.kill, even if you don't remember it from the previous session slides, it's kind of self-explanatory. .kill, it's like, oh, what could that method do, you know? Kind of like some random caveats to note. If you have gravity in your game and you delete the platform, the player's just going to keep falling, obviously. But also, this code doesn't check where the player came from. So, you know, obviously it's a multiple choice, so there's only like a few obvious answers. But even if your player jumps up into the platform, they'll just get like temporarily stuck, right? Or if they move into it from the side and they were like falling or jumping upward, they'll also get stuck. So that's why you need 4-directional collision. Anyways, cool. Yeah. So next time, I think we'll bring this up in an earlier session in future seasons. But this is like, how do you code on your own? You know, like when you're, especially when you're coding your game. So first of all, like, if you are copying and pasting code from elsewhere, obviously, first of all, usually administrator prompts should usually not pop up to begin with. But obviously, like, okay, I believe, yeah. Sorry, not even sure exactly what this slide is supposed to mean, but I think it's for when you're using code online, you want to actually make sure you understand what it's doing. Sometimes I break that rule when I'm installing things, but even then, like, don't be like me. So, right. Like, at least if you don't understand the whole thing, you wanna read through it and maybe even put it through ChatGPT. You know, usually it's you can, especially for like command prompt terminal stuff, which is probably one of the more common things you might end up copying and pasting if you use GitHub or you're like trying to install stuff. You can usually look up like each part of the command. You can be like, what is like, what I don't know, what's a good example? Like, what does this apt keyword do? And then you look up like a few of the keywords, and then if you like, what does this package do? Like Gecko's package or something weird. And you look at that, and if it looks legit, you know, it's like, this is a legit Python library. Okay, there's probably no virus. And then, oh yeah, Googling. This is, honestly, there's also large language models at this point. So you like think ChatGPT, Claude AI. If you guys haven't heard of Claude AI, it's actually better for coding. Like Sonnet, use the I'll show it later. Yeah, when you Google, you wanna be specific if you aren't already specific, and I would say with error messages. Well, first of all, you're in School Link Ignite, and even after this session, like, if your mentors are good with it, you can still ask them questions. I guess you can clarify with them, but for example, like if any of you are my mentees, you can definitely like send me questions even after this season is over. Also use the School Link Ignite help channel. Like if you're like busy working on your game and like, what is this? Just drop it in there. There's also a bunch of Discord servers, so having people that you know who like know more is actually probably the best way. But okay, let's say like it's a smaller thing and no one's like online, right? Okay, fine. What do? You usually, it, yeah, I guess they're talking about like a balance between being specific and vague. Usually if you're too vague, you'll kind of know because you'll get bad results. And if you're too specific, you won't get anything on Stack Overflow, usually what I use. There's a few resources. I think there's stuff in the speaker notes for this one. Generally speaking, oh yeah, there's also a few Google There's a couple things you can do in Google. If you add like quotes when you search in the search bar, you'll get like you only get results that have the exact text, like the exact text in it somewhere. You know, like if I put these two quotation, or I'm not sharing, but let me share this tab instead. How do I do this? Am I not sharing anymore? Yeah, I'm not sharing. How sad. What happens? Ah. Oh, I'll share the whole window. Just don't mind my other stuff. Cool, cool. So yeah, if I search in quotation marks, I get the exact words. Use it whenever you want. There's also some other Google stuff that you can do, like you get for file types. Not relevant for coding, but you might want to know that. Who knows? I'm gonna close both of these. Not relevant anymore. Okay. What else? Yeah, you get an idea. You kind of get an idea what's useful. You try to try a few different searches. Like if you don't get what you're looking for, do some searches. Right. There is Pygame documentation, which is good for, well, Pygame. Like it's good for like specific functions. If you're like, what the heck do I think it's more like if you come across something you don't know what it does, or if you're like you're reading through someone's response to how they do this, and they're like, oh, they use this random Pygame function. Like that's when you want to maybe use Pygame documentation. But usually, if you're just scrolling the documentation, you will not find that much. I mean, there's like if you wanted to add audio or something, you could. I believe you can search the Pygame docs. Yeah, you definitely can. There's like a search function, so you could look like up here. You could say, oh, and I have to. Yeah, I'm screen sharing the whole window, so you could search audio, right? And it's not the most useful, but you do get an idea. Oh, what's pygame.mixer.music? Oh, that's cool. But honestly, if you want to learn like new stuff, I would say look at like a short YouTube video. It's usually a lot easier. Like at one point, I was trying to rotate stuff, and like I'm not going to go into Pygame. Obviously, they might have some rotation specific things, right? But I'm not going to go here to look at it. I'm going to watch like some short YouTube videos. And second one, oh yes, quick question. Like Googling, do your Googling. Oh, that's not relevant. I think, is it? No, okay. Yeah, do some Googling, figure out what this function does. It's pretty easy. We'll give, okay, whatever. I guess I can't really decide the amount of time y'all get, but it'll take you like 1 minute max. All right, ready? Let's go. Wait, how come my screen's not sharing? Has it been like off the entire time? Come on. What's happening? I don't understand. Okay, my screen wasn't sharing or something. Okay, whatever. Just so you can see stuff, I looked up something here. You can use some search, but it's not that important. And if you missed the slides while I was looking at them, you can just go back. Most of what I said is there. And yeah, so quick question. What is pygame.time.getTix do? Go. Hmm? Yeah, cool. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's trick question. It's not really a trick question. You just gotta read carefully. All right, let's see how. Okay, let me see if I can screen share. Poof. It's milliseconds. Let's. Because if I was looking at this, oh gosh, there's so many tabs open. It's funny. Okay, cool. Let's do it this way. I will literally just copy and paste this like immediately. I just do into Google, and you see, oh, gets the time in milliseconds. And you can always trust pygame.org. That's like the most reliable one, but this is what it says. So, okay. Next, we have. I have to screen share again, don't I? No, I am screen sharing. Oh, maybe I was screen sharing the entire time. I'm silly. Okay. Cool. There's more tips here. Oh yeah, I have some tips on like using large language models as well, but I actually want to demo it, so I'm gonna like go and like get that stuff set up during our exercise. So okay, I'll front load the tips, but I want to see if I can demo some stuff, because large language models like ChatGPT, Claude AI, those are like the main ones that I use personally. I think other ones, there's a few you find what works, but Claude AI is definitely, especially their Sonnet model, that one's the best one, unless you have, I don't know if any of you have heard, but ChatGPT like o1, I think. Actually, I don't know if it's called ChatGPT. I think it's just OpenAI's o1 model. That one's like, it's built for reasoning. So that one's like, it rivals Claude's Sonnet model. Like Claude AI, they have 3 different language models, kind of like ChatGPT has like, 2.0, 3.0, 3.5, whatever. No one uses 2.0, but so Claude AI, they're like a company. They have language models as well. They name them differently, and Sonnet is free. Obviously, ChatGPT is free. I'll demo those later, but I would say when it comes to like, okay, working on your own, you just kind of have to be persistent, right? But while you have access to people you know who have done more coding than you, like if you're at something for an hour and you still can't figure it out, like, yeah, I would say either take a break or just go talk to someone who knows, like who like probably has expertise in that area. By the way, your mentors, yeah, let's go. And also like this, trying new Google searches. Honestly, if like your first Google search doesn't return anything relevant, I would say try like changing up the specificity or like the keywords you're looking for. Maybe I would do like 2 or 3 Google searches, maybe even 4. Well, I guess if you're on your own, you kind of just have to keep searching, and you have to search for like, maybe you can be like, oh, how do I implement like animation? By the way, that is something you'll definitely get results for. It's very broad. If you're looking like how to rotate about an axis, for example, like rotate some object about an axis, maybe you're trying to replicate a geometry dash game, like it's going to be a lot harder to find. Your best bet while you're here is asking your mentors. Even if you're still in the Skillix server, like once again, you can still ask people. And then otherwise, yeah, you just have to go like searching around. Also, like, yeah, language models. When using language models, there's like a few things that you can do. Anyways, don't mind these. These are old suggestions. Use Claude. Use Claude Sonnet 3. Okay, not Sonnet 3. What am I talking about? Claude's Sonnet model. It is so good. I literally had this coding assignment that I just was trying to test Claude AI, right? And I submit like, I just copy and paste the whole PDF. Oh, not the whole PDF. It was like a few pages, right? They were like, okay, used. Anyways, you can figure out the capabilities for yourself, like push its limits. Basically, I upload this coding assignment, and I'm like, okay, here's the code. It wants you to build these 2 functions, and it basically Claude AI passed all the tests on the first try. I would say the thing about language models is you want to make sure you should absolutely understand the code that it's putting out. because it can be like inefficient if you're like doing serious stuff. Also, it could be insecure, and like also you're here to learn. So I would say language models are more like guides, you know? They're like good for automating things you already know how to do. But if you think there's something that you don't know how to implement it to begin with, then what I would do is I would like try and implement it myself. And then if I'm going to use a language model, by the way, actually, it's also good for language models. You don't really want to ask them to write big chunks of code. The less code, the better, because the more code that you ask them for, the more likely it is to mess up, unless it's like a really common algorithm that's like just generic. Yeah, I'll try and demo that later. Show you some GitHub Copilot, hopefully. It's pretty good. Okay, enemies. Yes. So I'm going to zoom through this pretty quickly because I don't know exactly what sort of implementation like of enemies everyone, if you're even gonna have enemies in your game. So I'd rather get through this quickly, and then if you're like, oh, how do I implement this again? You go back through the slides, ask your mentor. So you can follow. I'm gonna go pretty quickly. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go pretty quickly through this one. So if you want, you can follow along. But basically, you can take all the code from slide 3. Oops, am I still screen sharing? I am screen sharing. Okay. Yeah, you can take all this code, download it all, put it into like a single folder. Also, like guys, when you're using okay, one second. How do I do this? Oh. Okay, I have to share my entire screen, I guess. Yeah. When you're using VS Code, like with the files, make sure you open like open the folder that contains the main.py file. So I guess you're gonna have like one file that you use to run your stuff, right? So that's gonna be, in this case, it's just adding platforms.py. Let's just say that's what it is. Like, you want to make sure that the folder that you open has this file at its like first level, right? You don't want to have like some folder called like, okay, that's not a good example, but let's say I opened a folder called tic-tac-toe or something. Okay, that's for tic-tac-toe, just random example. Basically, if I want to work with code inside this folder here, the one that says like tic-tac-toe tutorial CNN, if I want to work with this file here, I should be opening the TTT tutorial CNN file, not this upper level folder, because how it works is whichever folder that you open is where your like OS, like your image pathing works. So if I wanted to access like, model1.pits, then my pathing would be like, actually, I don't know how it goes. / I think you probably put underscores to represent spaces, if I remember correctly. So that's how I would access that file, right? But it actually depends on like what I open. Because if I open this folder directly in VS Code, so if I went and like opened, I'm not going to show it because I think you guys get the point. But if I open this folder directly instead of just this TTT folder, then instead of my path being this, it would just be this. It would just be model 1 because we're already in that folder. So the folder that you open to work in, like it affects your pathing. And also like when you guys are submitting your exercises, make sure you keep that in mind. Like whatever folder that you zip and upload, you should make sure the pathing is correct. Because I got some stuff that was not. Okay. Cool stuff. Okay. Let me switch the screen share to the tab. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, that's a tangent on folders. Use the right folders. And yeah, so when you upload all the stuff, put it into one folder and just open that folder in VS Code. Okay, enemies, back to enemies, right? Okay, guys. Oops. There's an image you can use here if you want. Probably should. And you can copy and paste this slide in. It just creates this enemy dude in the middle of your screen, but okay. And we have our image, our rectangle, and it's just a lot of copy pastable code. Like it's good to think about it if you're like, what does this do? Just think about it. But then we have a update, which I'll just walk over the code, like roughly what it does without going in depth. So here you're initiating enemy class, creating enemy class. Yeah, this is probably not something I would probably add an XY value to your initiation function. I wouldn't just plop them all into the same spot on the screen, but whatever. Here's like what you need to add into the main loop to make it work. You want to add them to a group, and you also want to update the group. And then finally, you can have update function, do whatever. In this case, we're just having it walk. And
Ryan, you're not screen sharing.
Oh, right. That's silly. Yay, thanks. Yo, text me earlier. No, I guess that's fine. That's fine. No, screen sharing, if someone can unmute like ASAP, that's best. Okay. Yeah, what was I saying? Blah blah blah. So set up the sprite. What do you have to do to your main loop and like the setup section? Here is defining what you want the enemy to do, and yeah, this is like, yeah, we actually, there was actually a quick question related to this. It's just a question. Think about it. What do you have to do to get the enemy to start moving instead of teleporting? What do you want it to do to move back to the left? And animations, yeah, that was something we did in session 4 bonus. And if you have questions about it, just DM your mentor. Okay. Yeesh. Okay. Oh, something else you can do some stuff called transform or flip, which you can look more into on your own time. But here are like the two examples of how to use them. You just come back to the slide, and it helps because then you don't have to resize. You don't have to like figure out the size of your image when you're adding them in. You can just like scale them, and it's really helpful. Here's an example. You won't. Yeah, you can like just add this to the update function of some class you already have, like the player.py one. And yeah, so finally, we want you to just like quick exercise, okay? And you just want to make the enemy move to left and right every 2 seconds. Also, no moonwalking if you can't help it. So I'm going to say 15 minutes for this. If you're not finished, if you want to go, it doesn't really matter. If you want to go back and finish it, you can, but I would say like we want to start on our games because I would say that personally, I think that's the most exciting thing. But like I said, if you're not finished after the 15 minutes, just come back to it. Cool. Yeah, by the way, I can't see the chat. Like when I'm talking, like I don't get notifications for the chat, so that's why I don't like. Yeah. Yeah, breakout rooms. Okay. So here I'm gonna try and do like a bit of a demo of, let's say, GitHub Copilot in action. So this is one of your fellow mentees' work. It's Andrew's game. So basically, he was experimenting, which I strongly encourage for one of the exercises. So there's a bit of a game I'll show you guys. And what I want you to do is give me some suggestions on things that you want to like see added to the game. Nothing super complex, but just drop things in the chat. So I'll show you what it is, what it has so far. What's it runs? It's so slow. And then what we're gonna do is we're trying to use AI to assist in adding like the new things really quickly. So this is a live demo, by the way. So I haven't tested any, obviously, tested it before in terms of like things that we're gonna add, because you guys will be suggesting the ideas. So it's gonna be genuine. So here's how it works right now. Basically, there's these platforms, and they move toward you. So it gives you, gives you the illusion of you're moving, but it's really just the platforms that are moving toward you. The platforms are gray rectangles, and the apples, these are like the things that you're trying to eat, right? And so your goal of the game is just eat a whole bunch of apples. Right now, there's no end screen, so like for example, that could be something that we want to add. But really, if I run into a platform, then oof, I die, right? And it says game over. You ate 9 out of 1,000 apples. So that's what there is so far. Does anyone have any ideas of what they would want to add or change or whatever? Like, and if no one has any ideas, I'll go and like try and implement my own things. But I want to hear from you guys. Come on, spam the chat. Spam. I don't care if one person has a bunch of ideas, put them all in. We'll choose. Choose. Oops. What sort of obstacles are we talking about? Because there's already like some obstacles. Okay. Ooh, okay, I like that. Let's make it so we can see the number of apples eaten live on our screen. You know what? Okay, I'm just gonna try this. I think it should work, to be honest. So I have GitHub Copilot, which I think you guys should be able to get for free. If not, then you can just either you look at this demo and you're like, oh, it's totally worth it, I'll get it, or you just but you're all students, so you should be able to get it. Or you can just try and use like Claude AI instead. I think as long as like you don't have a huge program, you can just paste all of your code in and ask it blah blah blah. Otherwise, instead of asking for like the whole thing, you could be like, oh, how do I make text show up on the screen? But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Control I, right? I'm going to say display the number. I don't know. Sometimes like when you're polite, you're supposed to get better answers. That's at least for like general queries. I don't know if it's specific code, but let's use this one. Please display the number of apples the player has eaten live on the screen. And I think I'll specify just to like guide it using Pygame text. Is that what it's called? Feature? Whatever. I'm not even going to specify because I forgot. And so chances are if you're lucky, you'll get like the right code right away. But even if you're not, usually what happens. But yeah, font. It's called Pygame font, right? So right now, I believe, does it let you do action? I think it also lets you, okay, let's just check this code, see if it works. So font is like, it's a word object. It's kind of like pygame.sprite, but instead it displays words. So it gets a font and then and just saying, okay, let's show this font with font.render. So it's really not, it's not a huge thing as well. And yeah, I think they should run. This makes sense. It should run. I don't remember what this argument is for, to be honest. I believe this is the color, and obviously here it's the text that you're supposed to display. I don't know what true does. If I want to check, because I'm curious, I'll say. You know what? Since we're demoing AI, why don't I ask, like, what does this do? You know, I think I do this, and I say, explain what the second parameter in font.render does. See, so I do that. Technically, you just Google it. It's not. Right? Cool. So it says, oh my God, that's a huge response. A bit hard to scroll. Anti-alias, whatever that means. Oh, what does that do? Smoothing. Okay, so when it's true, your font's gonna be rendered with smooth edges, and when it's false, it'll look more pixelated. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Now, if I want to verify that, because you should, it's an AI. You can't always trust it. I go like, what does? Okay, I would go font.render. Oops, font.render, and soon we'll run it soon. Okay, I just want to show you some other stuff. Like this is what I would do normally. I would also check to make sure I actually understand what's going on. So I would be like, dot render. Dot. I also do Control F if I know I'm already on the page. So what does this do? Okay, dot render. Anti-alias. Anti-alias. Okay. And okay, so what does anti-alias do? I use Control F a lot, by the way. There, now I go here and I say, oh, the anti-alias argument is Boolean if true. So yeah, exactly. So AI is not hallucinating. That's great. And finally, you just blit. That's like how you add text to the screen. So yeah, let's try that out. Oh, it adds it into the top left corner as well. So if anyone else has any other ideas, like you could drop them in the chat while we're trying this stuff out. Pretty simple too. Oh, cool. Well, let's see if it works. Boom. Yes, it does work. I mean, I kind of checked the code already. So yeah, okay, well, any other ideas? By the way, this was pretty easy, but it's like the AI knows, it knows. Like I just asked it, add the score to the screen, and it knows. Like that's good. Definitely it helps to be specific. If you know what you want, the more specific you are, like the higher success you got. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, damn, we're gonna have to vote on these. Put like thumbs up. Okay, if anyone, like if you really want, like, okay, choose someone else's idea, and like if you really think it's cool, like put a thumbs up on it. Oh my gosh, high score tab or in-game score. Okay, high score. Oh, that's gonna be hard. Okay, high score requires a file. Oh, moving obstacles that come in diagonally. Okay, let's make. Okay, going faster is, I would say that's pretty easy. Let's just get it to go quickly. I'm gonna say Control I. Usually that there's a few ways. You also have like a chat function. This is like for more general questions. It's like, oh, like how do I like add an AI to the game or something? But Control I is you're in chat. Let's do, okay, fine. Let's do what's the next one? You guys both voted on. Okay, fine. Can you please make the obstacles? And because I already have because the way it works is it has access to your entire file, right? So it can see all this code. You make the obstacles move faster. What as? Let's just say as the player consumes more apples. And you also like always ask it for one thing at a time. Like if you try and get it to implement multiple functions, then it'll increase the chances that it'll mess up. Okay, so I believe you can also, oops, where's this? I think there's a way to cycle through suggestion. Oh, no. Oh, that's, never mind. That's a ghost text. That's a different thing. So one of the things that it'll do is like, it'll try and predict what you want to do. Like if I did this, for example, it would, that's like another feature. It's pretty useful. I don't know if we'll be using that too much, but okay, so here's what it said. It says obstacle speed is equal to 3 plus the number of player points divided by 10. I think that's too much personally. So like, I see what it generated, but I think I want to see it actually happening. So I want to, every time you eat a single apple, we're going to increase the obstacle speed. Just like, and what we're going to do is, it's kind of like, because so, where is it? So we know here, like the obstacles, this, by the way, this is not the most efficient code. Like, oh, actually, okay, to be fair, these two for loops were already separated to begin with. But anyways, yeah, I would probably put this stuff right here. Anyways, that's not a big deal. So yeah, usually I like to look through the code as well, make sure I understand it. So yes, obstacle speed will move, and for every rectangle, like we're increasing the, okay. Now here's an issue, because what's happening is the obstacles are actually already being updated. Their like movement is being updated here already. And here their movement's being updated again. So the AI actually didn't realize that. But I see that, right? So if I played it, it would just go really fast. It would be like there's already this 3. Well, actually, it's okay, but right now your speed would be moved by 3 here, right? That's fixed. That's fixed. But then it'd be moved by another 3 here, and you would also have like this. So what I would probably do is let's just like compensate. Let's say your starting speed. This always happens, right? And this is not the best code. Obviously, we want to put these things together, but okay. So now we have this like acceleration. So yeah, let's just move it up here. Why not? Eh. Right, so a bit of editing. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, by the way, here also, this is like an issue as well. There shouldn't be another for loop. Hang on. Yeah, this should not be here. It's in the wrong place, so you still gotta watch it. If you know where to add the function as well, it helps. But anyways, oops, I am taking a while. 704. Okay, I'm not gonna. This is how it should look. Anyways, it's not perfect. All right, I'm gonna try and get it to implement something more complicated for our next one, and then after that, I'll let y'all go. Ooh, I like. Okay, what's that? Diagonal. Obstacles that come in diagonally. That seems probably quite interesting. So we'll try that. Hello. Okay, so we'll have to test it. It should start moving faster. Oh, yeah, it's obvious. Oh god, the platforms are flying. Okay, eventually. Okay, I couldn't dodge that. See, it works. Yay, okay. And I'm going to slow this down if we're going to continue using it. What else? Okay, we want to add obstacles that come in diagonally. And for this one, I'm actually going to kind of check where I think it should go. This one's a collision check, so I would probably not. Here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor here. I'm going to say Control I here. Add. Hang on. Okay, no. Okay, well, I think we would want to create a new type of. So I kind of think roughly where I want the AI to put its stuff, so it doesn't just add code randomly. I would say, or I could do add obstacles a new for loop. I'll also be specific. A new for loop with obstacles that fly in diagonally. And yeah, let's do. It should be able to kind of mimic what's already being done in these two. If I were to do this manually, I would just copy and paste them, and I'd be like, okay. So clearly, no, that's not happening. No. Okay, here's what I would do. What I would do is I would say, okay, I just escaped that. I would say for a rect in diagonal obstacle, right? So instead of using the, so what I'm trying to do, what was that? No, diagonal. And it will actually read the name that I named this variable, right? And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like prompt it to like, look at this, see what's happening up here, and then come down and, okay. Maybe that's not what I'll do. What do I need to do? I believe. Okay, cool. diagonal obstacles. See, this one's more tricky, right? Okay, so now that I've told it all the way up here, like I want some diagonal obstacles. Now I'm gonna say this. Come on. Sure. Yeah. Continue generating code for me. So I just check it and it generates a bunch of obstacles. Perfect. So now we've got a bunch of random. So this is just a duplicate of this. And maybe, do we want this? Like maybe we do. Or maybe we don't want them to spawn. We want them, if we want them to spawn in, then I probably wouldn't do this. So I don't think we want this. Let's just say diagonal obstacles. Here, let's just say we make like a few. Oh, this is tricky because either you could have a bunch of them that just spawn, and okay, well, we'll try our best. We'll try and do this quickly as well, like in the next 6 minutes. Well, this is gonna make it harder. So I'm gonna reduce the number of obstacles here, just like make it more realistic. Otherwise, I think it will not be good. Ideally, I think what would be good for diagonal obstacles is I want them to like kind of fly in from, say, the top right or something, like kind of like a meteorite, and then once they go off the bottom, like you just keep spawning them. So that would be like a bigger change, but I think that'll take a little while. So I don't want to like take y'all too long. But what I would do is I would go here for, sure, I mean, that works. Well, we're not going to do that. We'll just do rect dot. Okay, it's clearly not. So, sure. Well, we'll make them a fixed speed, right? Or maybe I want them to be random dot. Do I even have random in here? I do. Yeah. We want the speed to be somewhere between 3 and 5. So they come at different angles, which is probably a bad thing, to be honest. And so now it's like, oh, I said diagonal, and it's like, okay, I'm going to move the y as well, which is kind of exactly what we want. So this may not work that well, to be honest, because the rectangles will move, they'll spawn randomly. Okay, that's not going to work, actually. Okay, this is not going to work. So let's see. Well, how can we use AI to help us out? Oh, diagonal obstacles equals blah, and then okay. I'll test this out. I haven't tried this before, but let's just say right, which spawns rectangles that move from diagonally from the right side of the screen. Which constantly creates. And then I didn't specify where I should add it, so we'll see. I'm actually curious what happens. This is using Cloud 3.5 as well, so buffer. What is buffer? See, the issue is that it's trying to use the existing functions that we already have. So ideally, it's going to create a bunch of diagonal obstacles. Okay, I'm going to add them. What else did it do? Buffer equals. What is buffer for, anyways? Hang on.
Buffer. I can say.
Yeah.
Buffer is just there so that like you have an amount of time between your character spawning and your start screen and before the obstacle spawn.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Anyways. Okay, you know what? Okay, if you guys want to see the demo continuing, say so in the chat, but if you just want to like go work on your game now, I won't keep you waiting because this is definitely like a more complex thing to implement. Because obviously the thing is, if I just spawn right now, the way the spawning works is there's a big strip of like the rectangles spawn at like a bunch of how do I say this? Like imagine like a long strip that's just your game, and then the rectangles, your player is like always in the first, part of the how do I yeah, by the way, you can like put your thoughts on whether you want to just move off into the breakout rooms now or just see this continue. But explanation is like if this is your if you see the code here, like the rectangles are spawning along all of this place. But this little rectangle here, like this is like all your player can see. You can see this portion of the screen, but there's like several screens worth of. This is like not a great way to do it, but yeah, you know what? So within this little rectangle, that's what you can see, right? But over here, a bunch of rectangles and apples were spawned, and they're constantly moving toward the left. So the ones that like, as they move toward you, they end up on your screen. So it gives you the illusion that you're moving, but it's actually the rectangles and apples moving from here, moving like all the way. They're moving in this direction until finally they go onto your screen, and then they pass your screen, and they go off the edge of the screen. Like that's the way it's designed right now. So it's like working with a given code, like diagonal obstacles, if we spawn them like somewhere here, they just moved like diagonally, and then they would go down and off the screen before they ever reached us. So that's why I would say, anyways, thoughts. Does anyone want just put like, you don't want to put it public, just DM me with whether you want to go into the breakout room if you want us to continue seeing the demo. Because I'm going to try and make this work, but I reckon it will take a bit more time. Game over screen, we could do that. I think the point I'm trying to do is like what the limits of the AI is, because I think game over screen could definitely be like, I mean, I guess we could try that if you wanted. Add a game over screen. Oh shoot, I typoed. Oh well, doesn't matter. It should understand. Does anyone have any preferences? No one's talking. Guys, interact in the chats. Because I don't really care. Like, I'm good either way, so. Oh my god. It's a huge amount of text. And that's like in the... Okay, that's like unnecessarily big. While game over. And see, it also hallucinated. Like it added this thing here, even though I didn't ask it for like to continue the diagonal obstacles. So I'm gonna delete this. But so that's how AI works. It's not. We'll talk more about that in the next session about why that stuff happens. But chat, what did people say? Okay. Well, I only got two people. I only got two people answer, so we're gonna continue doing the demo. And let's see if the game over screen. Essentially, just a function, so I think you should be able to call it. The way I'll do it is. I'm gonna say blah 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 blah. print game over run equals false. So that's where it breaks the thing. But instead of run equals false, I think what we're going to do is we're going to call this function. We're going to call show. Yeah, there you go. So I kind of skimmed it. This is not something we want. I'm going to delete this. We'll add those later. Game over screen, right? I skimmed what the function does. Usually I would look at it more in depth, but let's just see the capabilities. So what does game over screen actually do? Let's see. It's a while loop that basically displays something on the screen. I think it will bug because these things are not global variables. It doesn't actually have access to this. So I think you'd have to pass it a bunch of things because there's no, and you need to pass it the screen. I'm going to say screen. Whoops. It's just an infinite loop. Okay. What happened to the platforms? Okay, the platforms all disappeared for whatever reason. What did we do to the platforms? Hang on. Okay. See, debugging. Debugging. So they should show the game over screen. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like usually what you would do is like, I guess while we're at it, right? How would you have different screens? Like that's a good exercise. Let me check chat. No one else has said anything. Okay. Oh, breakout rooms if you want. How about this? Yes, that's a good idea actually. Let's open breakout rooms if any of the mentors here are interested in like, or not that invested in